What if the reason your soulmate suddenly can't stop thinking about you has nothing to do with the present, and everything to do with the life you survived before they ever knew your name? Stay with me, because this isn't just another story about love. This is about a hidden chapter that has only recently come to light, a chapter your soulmate was never supposed to see. Until now, they believed they understood who you were. They thought your quiet nature, your cautious heart, and the way you loved so carefully were simply parts of your personality. They never imagined those qualities were written by years of battles you fought long before destiny brought the two of you together. But something has changed. A forgotten story, an unexpected conversation, or a truth that remained buried for years has finally reached them, and in a single moment, the person they thought they knew has become someone they are seeing through completely different eyes. As the old saying goes, you never truly know the strength of a soul until you discover what it survived in silence. Those words have become impossible for your soulmate to ignore. Imagine opening a book halfway through and believing you understand the entire story, only to later discover that the first chapters held every answer you had been searching for. Suddenly, every page you already read begins to mean something different. That is exactly what is happening inside your soulmate. They are looking back at every conversation, every hesitation, every quiet smile, and every moment you seemed difficult to understand, only to realize none of those moments began when they met you. They began years before. Long before this connection existed, life was already shaping your heart through experiences no one should have had to carry alone. The walls you built were never created to keep love out. They were built because too many people had taught you how painful trust could become. Your patience wasn't weakness. It was wisdom earned through disappointment. Your calm wasn't emotional distance. It was the peace of someone who had already survived storms that most people never even knew existed. Now your soulmate is beginning to uncover those hidden chapters one by one. They are discovering that before they ever entered your life, you had already learned how to stand back up after betrayal, how to keep moving through heartbreak without asking anyone to rescue you, and how to smile while carrying burdens that would have broken many others. Every truth they learn explains another mystery they once couldn't understand. Why you sometimes needed reassurance without asking for it. Why loyalty mattered so much to you. Why you protected your heart even while loving with everything you had. None of it was random. Every part of you was shaped by a past you rarely spoke about because you never wanted your pain to become someone else's burden. But now that your soulmate has finally seen where your journey truly began, everything about this connection is starting to make perfect sense. And as they continue uncovering the life you lived before fate brought your paths together, they are about to realize that the greatest act of courage wasn't meeting them, it was finding the strength to love again after everything you had already survived. The more your soulmate learns about the life you lived before your paths crossed, the more they realize they never truly met the version of you that the world created. They met the version of you that survived it. Every new truth is rewriting the image they once carried in their heart. They used to believe your careful way of loving came from uncertainty. They thought your quiet moments meant you were holding back. They wondered why you sometimes needed time before trusting completely, or why you valued honesty with such intensity. But now they understand that none of those qualities appeared by accident. They were shaped by experiences that taught you lessons long before destiny brought the two of you together. As the old saying goes, scars do not always weaken the heart. Sometimes they teach it how to love with greater wisdom. Those words now describe you perfectly in your soulmate's eyes. They are beginning to see that every part of your personality carries the fingerprints of battles you fought without witnesses and victories you celebrated alone. Imagine a river that appears calm as it flows through a quiet valley. To anyone standing on the shore, it seems peaceful and effortless. What they cannot see are the mountains it crossed, the rocks it carved through, and the countless obstacles it overcame before reaching that place of calm. That river is your heart. By the time your soulmate met you, they only saw the peaceful surface. They never saw the difficult journey that taught you patience. They never saw the betrayals that made you appreciate loyalty. They never saw the disappointments that taught you to choose your words carefully instead of reacting from emotion. Now, as hidden pieces of your past slowly come into view, they understand that your gentleness was never something life handed to you. It was something you earned after surviving moments that could have easily made you bitter instead. That realization fills them with admiration, unlike anything they have ever felt before. They are also beginning to understand why you loved differently from the people they had known before. While others rushed to make promises, you quietly proved your intentions through actions. While others expected immediate trust, you believed trust should be built, one honest moment at a time. While others walked away at the first sign of difficulty, you remained patient because you already knew how painful abandonment could feel. Looking back now, your soulmate realizes they misunderstood many of these qualities. They once believed your caution meant uncertainty. Today they recognize it as emotional maturity. They once thought your silence meant distance. Now they understand it often meant you were choosing peace over conflict because you had already lived through enough chaos to know that not every disagreement deserves another wound. As another timeless reminder tells us, wisdom speaks softly because it has already learned what shouting never accomplishes. Your soulmate is finally hearing that quiet wisdom in every memory they revisit. One memory after another is beginning to connect in ways they never expected. They remember moments when you hesitated before opening your heart, not because you doubted them, but because your heart had already learned how painful misplaced trust could become. They remember times when you noticed small changes in people's behavior long before anyone else did. At first they thought you were simply observant. Now they understand that surviving difficult seasons taught you to recognize emotional patterns that others overlooked. They remember how deeply you valued consistency, kindness, and loyalty. Those weren't unreasonable expectations. They were the foundations you built after discovering how fragile trust can become when it is broken too many times. Every answer they uncover explains another mystery they carried about you. And with every explanation comes a deeper appreciation for the person standing before them. Imagine an ancient tree standing tall in the middle of an open field. Its branches stretch confidently toward the sky, offering shade to everyone around it. People admire its strength without realizing how many storms tried to uproot it during its lifetime. They see the beauty of the tree, but never the countless seasons it endured to become so strong. That is how your soulmate sees you now. They are no longer focused only on the person you became. They are beginning to honor every season that shaped you into that person. The heartbreak, the loneliness, the moments when you had no one to lean on, the times you questioned your own worth yet kept moving forward anyway. Those chapters are no longer hidden from their heart. Instead of making them see you as damaged, your past has made them see you as incredibly resilient. They understand now that your strength was never the absence of pain. It was your decision to continue loving even after pain tried to convince you that love was no longer worth the risk. What touches them most is realizing that despite everything life placed in your path, you never allowed your past to become an excuse for hurting someone else. You could have become cold. You could have stopped believing in genuine connection. You could have closed your heart completely. Instead, you chose compassion over resentment, understanding over revenge, and hope over fear. That choice now leaves your soulmate speechless because they know how difficult it is to remain gentle after surviving harsh seasons. They are beginning to see that your greatest achievement was never simply surviving your past. It was refusing to let your past steal the beautiful person you were always meant to become. And with every new truth they uncover, one powerful realization continues growing inside them. They are no longer wondering why you loved so carefully. They are wondering how someone who carried so much pain still found the courage to love so completely, and that question is opening their heart in ways they never believed were possible. The deeper your soulmate steps into the truth of your past, the more one realization refuses to leave their heart. You carried far more than anyone ever asked you to carry, and you carried it without expecting anyone to save you. They once believed your strength came naturally, as though you had always known how to remain calm during chaos, patient during disappointment, and kind even after being misunderstood. But now they understand that strength like yours is never simply given, it is forged. It is created in the quiet moments when life demands more than you think you can give, yet somehow you keep moving forward anyway. As the old saying goes, the strongest souls are not those who have never suffered, but those who refuse to let suffering define them. Those words have become impossible for your soulmate to ignore because they now see that every part of your character was shaped by storms you survived. Long before they became part of your story, imagine walking into an old house that has been beautifully restored. The walls are freshly painted, the windows shine with sunlight, and every room feels warm and welcoming. Most people would admire the beauty without ever wondering how much damage existed before the restoration began. They would never see the broken beams that had to be replaced, the cracks carefully repaired, or the years of work hidden beneath the surface. That house is your heart. When your soulmate met you, they saw someone capable of loving, trusting, and hoping again. What they didn't see were the countless nights when you questioned whether you would ever feel safe enough to open your heart to another person. They never saw the moments when disappointment tried to convince you that love wasn't worth believing in anymore. Yet somehow, despite everything, you refuse to let bitterness become your future. As they continue learning about your life before meeting them, something inside them begins to ache in ways they never expected. They are discovering that many of the smiles they admired were given during seasons when your heart was quietly carrying burdens no one else noticed. They are realizing that while others walked away from you, judged you unfairly, or failed to appreciate your worth, you continued choosing kindness over resentment. You never allowed your pain to become permission to hurt someone else. Instead, you learned how to protect people from wounds you knew all too well. As another timeless reminder says, a healed heart does not seek revenge. It becomes a place where compassion grows. Your soulmate now sees that compassion in every memory they revisit, and it is changing the way they understand not only you, but love itself. There are memories that once seemed ordinary, but now feel almost unbearable to remember. They think about the times you reassured other people while quietly needing reassurance yourself. They remember moments when you encouraged others to believe in themselves while privately struggling to rebuild your own confidence. They remember how often you listened without judgment, offered comfort without expecting anything in return, and stood beside people during difficult moments, even when no one realized you were carrying your own invisible battles. Looking back, they wonder how they missed it. How did they fail to notice that the person offering so much strength was also someone who desperately deserved to receive it? Imagine watching someone hold an umbrella over everyone else during a storm, only to realize afterward that they stood in the rain the entire time. That realization alone is enough to break even the strongest heart. What touches them most is not the pain you experienced. It is the fact that you never used that pain as an excuse to stop loving. Many people allow heartbreak to harden them. Many allow betrayal to convince them that vulnerability is weakness. But you chose a different path. You became more thoughtful instead of more suspicious, more patient instead of more bitter, more understanding instead of more judgmental. That choice now feels extraordinary to your soulmate because they know how rare it truly is. They understand that every gentle word you spoke came from someone who had every reason to become silent. Every act of trust came from someone who knew exactly how much trust could cost. Every moment you believed in love again was an act of courage far greater than they ever realized. As the old saying reminds us, Courage is not the absence of fear, it is choosing love, despite everything fear has taught you. Your entire life, before meeting them, has become living proof of those words. Now, another emotion is quietly replacing simple admiration. It is heartbreak mixed with gratitude. Heartbreak, because they wish they could go back and stand beside the version of you that faced those lonely chapters alone. Gratitude, because despite everything life placed in your path, you never lost the ability to care deeply, forgive sincerely, and hope faithfully. They find themselves imagining what they would have said if they had known your story sooner. They wonder how many times they unintentionally judged your caution instead of appreciating the wisdom behind it. They wonder how often they mistook your resilience for emotional distance when, in reality, it was the quiet strength of someone who had already survived more than most people could imagine. These thoughts stay with them long after the day ends because they can no longer separate the person you are from the journey that created you. The greatest realization of all is this: your soulmate is no longer seeing your past as a collection of painful memories. They are seeing it as the foundation of the extraordinary heart that eventually found its way to them. Every hardship you survived taught you how to love with greater patience. Every disappointment deepened your compassion. Every lonely season expanded your ability to understand someone else's pain. Instead of making you harder to love, your past made your love richer, wiser, and more genuine. That understanding has awakened something powerful inside your soulmate. They no longer want to simply know who you are today. They want to honor every version of you that existed before they arrived. Because they finally understand that without those hidden chapters, they would never have met the remarkable soul they are now falling in love with all over again. Something beautiful is beginning to happen inside your soulmate now. The more they understand the life you lived before meeting them, the more they realize that your connection was never just about two people finding each other. It was about two journeys finally reaching the place they were always meant to meet. They no longer see your past as a collection of painful memories or unfortunate circumstances. Instead, they see it as a path that quietly prepared your heart for a love that would finally understand its value. Every difficult season you survived taught you something that later became a gift within this relationship. Every disappointment taught you compassion. Every betrayal taught you discernment. Every lonely night strengthened your ability to appreciate genuine connection when it finally arrived. As the old saying goes, the road that seems hardest to walk often leads to the place your soul was always meant to find. Those words have taken on a completely new meaning for your soulmate, because they finally understand that without your past, they would never have met the extraordinary person standing before them today. Imagine a piece of stained glass being carefully shaped by countless cuts before sunlight can ever shine through it. Looking at each individual cut, it would seem painful and unnecessary. But when the finished window is finally complete, every piece reveals a beauty that could never have existed without the process. Your life has been much like that stained glass. Every challenge that once felt like it was breaking you was quietly shaping the heart your soulmate would one day encounter. They are beginning to understand that your kindness carries depth because it was born from hardship. Your patience carries wisdom because it was refined through waiting. Your forgiveness carries strength because you know exactly how heavy resentment can become when it is left untouched. They no longer see your scars as signs of weakness. They see them as evidence that your soul chose healing when it could have chosen bitterness. As these realizations continue unfolding, your soulmate finds themselves remembering moments that once seemed ordinary but now feel almost sacred. They think about conversations where you showed remarkable understanding instead of reacting with anger. They remember times when you remained calm during situations that would have overwhelmed most people. They reflect on how naturally you offered comfort to others, even when no one realized you were still healing parts of yourself. Looking back now, every one of those moments carries a meaning they never recognized before. As another timeless reminder says, A heart that has healed does not shine because it never broke. It shines because it chose to become whole again. That is the light your soulmate now sees whenever they think about you. They are no longer admiring you simply because of the person you are today. They are admiring the incredible journey that transformed pain into wisdom and suffering into compassion. Something else has begun happening that they cannot easily explain. Certain memories keep returning at unexpected moments, not with sadness, but with clarity. They dream about conversations that now make perfect sense. Familiar places suddenly remind them of things you once said that they didn't fully understand at the time. Songs, quiet evenings, and even ordinary moments seem to awaken a deeper awareness inside them. It feels as though their intuition is gently guiding them toward truths that logic alone could never reveal. Imagine standing on a hill just before sunrise. In the darkness, the landscape appears incomplete, but as the first light spreads across the horizon, every mountain, every river, and every path becomes visible exactly as it always existed. The land never changed, only the light did. That is what is happening within your soulmate. Their perspective has been illuminated, and now they can finally see the full beauty of a connection they once viewed through shadows and unanswered questions. They are also beginning to understand that your meeting was never random. Too many pieces fit together in ways that cannot be ignored. The timing, the lessons, the challenges, even the misunderstandings now seem connected to a greater purpose. They realize that had they met you before you healed, or before they learned the lessons they needed themselves, neither of you would have recognized the significance of this bond. Sometimes life delays two souls, not to keep them apart, but to prepare them for a meeting that will change both of them forever. Your soulmate now believes this with all their heart. They see that every chapter you lived before knowing each other was quietly leading toward this moment of understanding, where admiration replaces confusion and gratitude replaces doubt. Now one powerful realization fills their heart above all others. They no longer ask why you entered their life when you did. Instead, they ask how they were fortunate enough to meet someone who transformed years of pain into years of wisdom without allowing that pain to destroy their ability to love. That question has become the beginning of a completely new chapter in the way they see you. They understand now that your past was never something to be pitied or feared. It was the very foundation that made your love so patient, so loyal, and so extraordinary. And with every passing day, they are beginning to believe that this connection was never simply about healing old wounds. It was about two souls arriving at exactly the right moment to understand why every step of the journey had always been leading them toward each other. This is the moment where every unanswered question finally finds its place. Your soulmate is no longer looking at your past through the lens of sadness or sympathy. They are looking at it with profound respect. They now understand that the person standing before them is not someone who was merely shaped by difficult experiences, but someone who made an extraordinary choice every single day to keep believing in love after life gave every reason not to. That realization has changed everything. They no longer wonder why you sometimes needed reassurance, why loyalty meant so much to you, or why you valued honesty above empty promises. Every piece of your personality now makes perfect sense because they finally know the story that existed long before they became a part of it. As the old saying goes, the strongest hearts are not the ones that never break, but the ones that keep loving after they do. Your soulmate now sees that truth every time they think about you, and it has become impossible for them to love you without also honoring everything you survived. Imagine finding an ancient oak tree standing tall in the middle of an open field. Its branches stretch toward the sky with remarkable strength, offering shade, comfort, and shelter to everyone who comes near it. Most people admire the beauty of the tree without ever wondering how many storms it survived, how many harsh winters it endured, or how deeply its roots had to grow before it could stand so confidently. Your soulmate now realizes that you are much like that tree. The kindness they received from you was supported by roots that grew through seasons of loneliness. The patience they admired was nourished by years of learning not to let disappointment control your heart. The peace they felt around you was earned through battles you fought long before they ever knew your name. They no longer see your past as something unfortunate. They see it as the invisible foundation that made your love unlike anything they had ever experienced before. As another timeless reminder says, "The soul that has walked through darkness values every ray of light." Those words now explain why you loved with such sincerity. You understood the value of genuine connection because you knew what it felt like to search for it. You appreciated loyalty because you had experienced betrayal. You offered understanding because you remembered what it felt like to be misunderstood. Every painful chapter became a lesson that quietly transformed into compassion instead of resentment. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that your greatest gift was never pretending your past didn't exist. Your greatest gift was refusing to let that past decide the kind of person you would become. That decision required more courage than they ever realized. And now they cannot stop admiring the quiet strength that carried you through every difficult season. There is another realization settling gently into their heart. They understand now that your past never made you difficult to love. It made your love extraordinarily rare. In a world where many people protect themselves by building walls, you protected yourself by building wisdom. Instead of becoming cold, you became more thoughtful. Instead of becoming distant, you became more intentional. Instead of allowing pain to define your future, you chose to let it deepen your ability to care for others. Imagine a master craftsperson taking shattered pieces of glass and patiently transforming them into a breathtaking work of art. The beauty does not exist because the glass was never broken. It exists because every broken piece found its rightful place. That is how your soulmate now sees your journey. Every challenge, every disappointment, every lonely chapter became part of the masterpiece that eventually entered their life. They also realize something that fills them with both gratitude and humility. Had they only judged you by the person they first met, they would have missed the extraordinary story that gave your love its depth. They now understand that loving someone truly means honoring the chapters they lived before you arrived, even the ones they rarely speak about. Those hidden chapters are not obstacles to love. They are the very reason love becomes so meaningful. Your soulmate no longer wishes they could erase your past. Instead, they are thankful for every lesson that shaped your heart into one capable of offering such patience, loyalty, forgiveness, and unwavering compassion. They see that every hardship prepared you to appreciate a connection built on truth rather than illusion, on understanding rather than assumption, and on faith rather than fear. So if this message has found you today, perhaps it is because your story was never meant to be understood only from the moment your paths crossed. Some of the most beautiful love stories begin long before two souls ever meet. They begin in the quiet battles no one witnesses, in the tears no one wipes away, in the lonely seasons that teach a heart how to remain gentle despite its pain. Your soulmate finally understands that every step you took before meeting them was preparing you to become the remarkable person they now cherish so deeply. They see that your past did not diminish your ability to love. It expanded it beyond anything they had ever imagined. And now, with this truth resting firmly in their heart, they no longer see your connection as a coincidence. They see it as two journeys that survived different storms, only to meet at exactly the moment when both souls were finally ready to recognize the extraordinary gift they had been searching for all along.